Welcome everyone to another episode at Code Arena, brought to you by Brain Technologies. Well, today's lesson, what we'll be discussing today's lesson is Java programming constructs. And Java programming construct has to do with a lot of things. That's under this topic we'll be talking about how to use conditional statements, how to use the looping statement, how to enhance method of a class, how to pass arguments to a method. We'll also be talking about creating nested classes. But today, generally, the part one of this programming construct will be based on using conditional statements. So let's go ahead and discuss. When we say using conditional statements, but in life, the ability to make decisions is fundamental to human beings. Human beings make decisions all the time. So we trying to make programs make decision is you using conditional statements, because decision making can be actually incorporated into program, the result of which determines the sequence in which a program will execute instructions. And that is for conditional statement. And why the looping statement is actually talking about you writing a section of a program, making a section of a program to be repeated a certain number of times. So the repetition continues while the condition that is set for the loop remains true. So when the condition becomes false, the loops end and the control is passed to the statement that is following the loop. So but basically today we will only be focusing on the conditional statements, and the next chapter, the next lesson, we move to the looping statements. Now when we say the conditional statement, using conditional statements, you see the conditional statement, these are also known as decision making statements. Like I said before, it's mainly we are trying to, using conditional statement, we are trying to make our program to make decisions. We are trying to let our program make decisions on their own. See, this is one of the basics of artificial intelligence, having a program that can reason, having a program that can actually think. So the process of a program thinking or reasoning is you making use of this conditional statement. Now, when we say conditional statement, we are talking about the if and else statement, and we're also talking about the switch statement. Now, these are the two categories of the conditional statement. These are the two types of conditional statement: the if else statement and the switch statement. Don't forget, when I mean this conditional statement, I'm just you don't forget that normally as human beings we make decisions in our daily life. Now we're trying to make our program the same decision making. We are trying to incorporate it in program by using what we call the conditional statement, which are the if and else and the switch statement. Now let's choose one of these types of conditional statement one after the other. Now, using the if else statement. Now the if else statement enables you to execute statements selectively. Don't forget, it enables you to execute statements selectively. And how do we write? What is the syntax of writing this if and else statement? Now, to write an if and else statement, you start by writing if, then open your parentheses by the Boolean expression, then your curly brace bracket, then the statement, and you end it with a curly brace bracket. Then you put your else, curly brace bracket, and the statement, then also end it with another curly brace bracket. Now, in this code, if the Boolean expression of the if statement, that's if this particular expression, whatever you're going to be writing in this bracket, within this bracket, evaluates to be true, if this Boolean expression is true, the Java compiler compiles this statement. The compiler compiles the statement. Don't forget, this is the syntax of writing an if and else statement. That means you're trying to tell your program that if this statement, if the expression written in this bracket is true, then the compiler should compile whatever statement that is written in this curly brace bracket. Now, if the Boolean expression, that's this particular Boolean expression in this if statement, is false, then you are telling it to do what? To do this else, to execute this else statement, which is what the statement within this else bracket. Are you getting it? Now, don't forget that the if and else statement works on Boolean expression, and when we say Boolean expression, we are only talking about two values. Like I said in our second class, that's the Java basic syntax, that all the data types we have is the bool, that's the boolean, and bool can either be true or false. So if this boolean expression is true, then our statement this particular statement within this curly bracket will be executed by our compiler. Else, that is, if not true, then this particular statement should be executed. Now, I hope you're getting it. Now, that is just the main, that is how an if and else statement, that's an if and else statement is actually written. Now, I want us to get clear in this place. See, the if and else statement uses a Boolean expression which comprises of relational operators and conditional operators. The if and else statement makes use of a Boolean expression which comprises of relational operators and conditional operators. Now, when we mean relational operators, it means, you see, don't forget when you are writing a Boolean expression, you write it with if, then you write your Boolean expression, and inside that parenthesis, you make use of either a relational operator or a conditional operator. Now, let's talk about these relational operators, conditional operators. Now, when we say relational operators, we're actually talking about the operators are used. These operators are used to compare the values of two variables or operands and find the relationship between the two. Don't forget, relational operators are the operators that actually compare the values of two variables or operands and find the relationship between the two. So they consist of 6 different operators. I mean, the relational operators actually consist of 6 different operators. Now, 6 different operators, of which we have OP1 greater than OP2. Now, when we see OP1 in this case, please have it at the back of my mind. OP1 means operand 1, and don't forget, operand 1 is actually talking about what? The first statement. No, it's not the first expression greater than the second expression. So you are trying to tell the compiler to check if the first expression, which is operand 1, is greater than the second expression, which is operand 2. Now, it will return true. This statement, this expression, this Boolean expression will return true if the value of this operand 1 is greater than the value of this operand 2. Now, once if you write a program, if you write a Boolean expression of such, and it is true, then the compiler executes the statement within the if curly bracket. But if the value of this operand 1 of this Boolean expression is false, the compiler executes the statement within the else statement, within the else bracket. Now, the second type is operand 1 less than operand 2. So this also returns true if the value of operand 1 is less than the value of operand 2. Now, if the value of operand 1 is less than the value of operand 2, if it is true, the compiler executes the statement within the if curly bracket. But if the expression, this particular expression, is false, then the compiler executes the statement within the else curly bracket. Now, the third one is operand 1 greater than or equal to operand 2. Now, or if it is returned true if the value of operand 1 is greater than or equal to operand 2. Now, if that statement is true, the compiler executes the statement within the if curly bracket, and else it executes the statement within the else curly bracket. And the fourth one is operand 1 less than or equal to operand 2, the same as said as the rest. And the fifth one we have is operand 1 equals to operand 2. Now, what does this mean? It means if the value, it will return true if the value of operand 1 is the same value as what is in operand 2. I get it. Now, don't forget there's a difference between equal to, a single equal to, and a double equal to. In Java, when you use double equal to, then you are trying to tell the compiler to check if the value of this operand 1 is the same as the value of this operand 2. But when you use a single equal to, they are trying to tell the compiler to assign the value of operand 2 into operand 1. If it's a single equal to, we are trying to tell the compiler to use the value to assign value in operand 2 into operand 1. And the last one is operand 1 not equal to operand 2. Now in this case, it will return true if the value of operand 1 is not equal to the value of operand 2. So if the value of operand 1 is not equal to the value of operand 2, the compiler executes the statement within the if curly bracket. Else, that if it is false, it executes the statement within the else curly bracket. So these are the 6 different relational operators. These operators work as you use them to express as your Boolean expressions. We're going to be working on that very soon. You'll be seeing that very soon. So you see that greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. In any of this case, in either of this case, if your value is true, if it returns true, the compiler executes the statement within the if curly bracket. But if the value is false, the compiler executes the statement in the else bracket. We're going to be seeing that. Now let's move to the next one, which is the conditional operator. Now this is mainly the part where the reasoning ability is actually coming from. I get it. So the conditional operators are used to combine multiple conditions in one Boolean expression. You see, a program having the ability to think, and like you give it a lot of inputs, and it reason and check the input to compare the two inputs to give its own value, to give its own result. Is you using a conditional operator. So this operator is just mainly of three different operators, and the 3 different operators are the AND. Now we all know logical operators. The AND operators. Now in this case, you are trying to tell the compiler to compare, the value in operand 1 and operand 2. Now it will return true if both operand 1 and operand 2 are true. That's what this is actually saying. So if this operand 1, if the value of operand 1, if operand 1 and operand 2 are true, then if both of them are true, then it will return true. Are you getting it? Boolean expressions are only returning true or false value. Don't forget that. So true or false value. So in this case, we only see this AND operator is used when the value here and value here are true. Now that is when we can use this AND operator. For example, if balance is greater than 0 and balance is less than 10,000, so the compiler is going to check if truly is balance less than 0. If true, it also check is balance greater than 0. If it is true, it also check is balance less than 10,000. If it is true, then it returns a value true, which will be executed in which the statement within the if curly bracket will be executed. Now we also have this, which is the or. This represents the or. Now we are trying to take this returns true if either one of the two is true. I mean, either this is true, it doesn't mean this should be false. This might be true and this is false. As long as one of it is true, it returns a true value. So it checks if one of it is true. If there's a true value in either of the operand, it returns a true value. Whether this is true or this is true, it returns a true value. But in the case where both are false, it does not return a true value. But in the case where both are true, it will definitely return a true value. Now, and the third one is not. We call this a not operator. Now this not operator returns true if this operand 1 is not true at all. If this operand 1 is not true at all, then it returns a true value. I hope you're getting it. Now what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be writing the codes on this if and else statement. Now let's go and open our NetBeans to begin the codes on if and else statement. Now I have my NetBeans loading, Let's wait for it till it loads. Okay, so we have NetBeans opened. I don't like this view. Come, let me adjust it. Okay, here we go. Let's create a class. Okay, we have, this is the previous thing, this is the previous class we created, the arithmetic. So let's just create another class underneath it. Let's right click on default package and create new Java class under arithmetic, and let's name this Java class account. Now what am I trying to do? What program am I trying to create? I'm trying to create a simple account program. I mean, to check balance of a customer, to check balance of a customer, to see if the balance, if a customer currently has a specific amount in his in his account, and if the balance is not such amount, you should do a particular thing. You should write insufficient balance, and if the balance is actually up to that amount, then yeah, we can actually put a statement to it to actually perform. So let's make the name of the class called account. Let's name the name class account. Now finish. Let's wait while it loads. Okay, so we have our class. We have a class named account. Don't forget how we define class: public class account, your curly brace and your open curly brace. So if you actually followed me last class, you should be able to tell me how a main method is written. And how do we write a main method? Yes, we use the syntax public static void main open parenthesis string square brackets, then args. Don't forget, like I said, you can also write it as args then followed by a square bracket, all still meaning the same, then your curly brace bracket. Now your main method, like I said, is where your codes execute from. That's the beginning of where the compiler executes your code from. So now, what are the things you need to define? You need to have some things, certain things you need to define right in the program. You don't just create class and start just writing the code. You need to design your code. You need to have an algorithm of what you actually want to achieve. Now, don't forget, I said I want to create an account where a customer can check his or her balance and see if he has a certain amount of money in the balance, if the money is enough to withdraw or not. And so don't forget that ability of you writing such a code means you need a conditional statement. That's a condition. You are trying to, if there's a condition there, if the money is enough, please do this. Else, that means if the money is not enough, then do this. So the beneficiary, the customer, just go to the ATM, or he just approaches the ATM he slots his ATM card, does perform everything he needs to do, then gets to the place where he needs to withdraw, then the conditional code is being executed. Okay, if the amount entered is less than the balance he has, please print that's the ATM doing that. Please print insufficient balance. Else, that means if the amount he entered is actually less than the amount he has in his account or in an account, then the ATM is like, okay, go ahead to dispense the exact cash which he entered. Don't forget, if the amount he entered is greater than the balance he has, please print insufficient balance. So that is a conditional statement, and in this case we're going to be making use of a if and else statement. So let's get on with that. So what do we need? First, we need a double variable, that means the variable which will be holding the account, that's the money in this account. So let's create a double data type and let's name it as, don't forget your variable name must not be the same as your class name. Let's save it as ACC and what else do we need to check? Okay, amount. Okay, now we have these two variables, ACC and amount. Now ACC is the account, that's the balance, so let's just leave it as balance so it will be more readable. So balance is the account, that's the money in this account, while amount of the data type, that amount variable is the variable that will actually store the amount which you want to withdraw. Are we getting it? So let's go ahead